Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to give the 2019 President's Award to Mr. Lynn Davis. Let's show him how much we appreciate his support.
Please be seated. I first wanted to say a couple words about Walt and Jenny, who are leaving. Walt has been at every one of the foundation meetings that I've been to since he's been here. He's been to any alumni event. He goes to all the events, and he works really hard. And it's been a team effort. Jenny is usually there with him, too. So thank you again for us. And you gave a clap for Terry DeBono and Steve Rosen for that film. They really worked hard on that. Thank you again. I'm going to introduce my family. I'll ask them all to wait to the end, and then they can all stand. You can clap once. My sister is here from Pacific Grove, Joy Fugit. Joy's family, a number of my nephews and nieces are here. Even had one grandnephew here today. I'm sure he'll be at a year, he'll really remember this today. My daughters, you saw on the video already, Janie is from Salinas, and Cindy is from Lagunitas up in Marin County, and her husband, Todd Pickering. And our only grandson, our only grandchild, the Prince, Santi Maestas. Santi is just a wonderful young man. So can I have all of those folks in? I'm going to introduce Lydia next. Go ahead, stand up, please. I've saved Lydia for the last because without Lydia, I would not be standing here today. And you've heard that before from a number of speakers, but it couldn't be more true. Lydia's the one that wanted me to go to college. I had no plans to go to college at all. We have been partners for 58 years in July. She is an alum of MPC. She's a member of the Lobo Hall of Fame. She has a master's in psychology. She came in as what they called in those days a re-entry woman because her children were already grown. And she went from here to UC in Santa Cruz, has a master's from the University of San Francisco. She is a marriage family therapist, was for many years. A number of her colleagues are here today. These women have been together for over 40 years, all therapists, most retired now. She is the foundation of our family. Her support, guidance, and love have allowed me to obtain an education and have allowed me to do things in the community. Without her support, I couldn't have done. Lydia, please stand. Well deserved. I'm very proud of our family, and I know Lydia is too, not only for what they've done in their lives up to now, but who they are as human beings. They care about people, and they have a moral compass that Lydia and I can always be proud of. And there's not much more you can say about your children than that. And I really am proud of the girls and proud of my grandson and even my son-in-law, all of them. I don't have time to introduce everyone today. I did want to mention a couple of folks that are from out of town. Jay and Ann Cobb, you saw on the video. They are here from Santa Rosa. Certainly Doug and Renee Garrison. Dr. Garrison, we actually hired Dr. Garrison, my board did, and Dr. Garrison was with our board for 8 years. He started this function that we have here, was his idea. And Renee and Doug have become personal friends over the years. So we really, Doug and I would meet quite often before board meetings. I was either the chair of the board or Jim Tunney was the chair. We went back and forth every year. A couple of other folks just to mention, Jim Philpott is here. Jim was a trustee for 12 years. He was my first mate on the boat for probably 15 years. And Merv Sutton is now my first mate on the boat, and he's here today with Nancy too, and I appreciate that. The trustee board from 2004 to 2012 was really a kind of a special board. The late Charlie Page was on that board. Charlie was a recipient of this award. Dr. Jim Tunney was on that board. He's a recipient of this award. Dr. Lauren Steck is now in his 15th year on the board. And we also had Dr. Bob Infeliz, who's now passed. Joining us on that board after Dr. Infeliz was Carl Pohammer. And Carl is here from basically Walnut Creek today, and I appreciate him coming down. Carl was a 40-year faculty member. And I have to say, when Carl went on the board, we were a little hesitant because he was also past president of the Faculty Senate. And I didn't know about bringing the union onto the board. Carl did a tremendous job for us. We really appreciated what he did. He brought the perspective of the students and he brought the perspective of the faculty. We also had joining us then later is Charlie Brown, and Charlie's here. Charlie spent 9 years on the board, and we really appreciate that. I'm honored to have friends from all of my life here. It's interesting, there's people that I was in the grocery business for 20 years with my father, and there are folks here from that. You saw Charlie Aguirre already. One of my managers, Wayne McMillan, is here with his wife. And then classmates from Monterey College of Law. I think we have a couple of deans here. Dean Fred Harrow, who is still there. He was a criminal law professor when I was there, and Dean Frank Hespy, who Frank is back in private practice now. And also my years with Legal Services for Seniors. For those of you who don't know, we used to provide, and we still do, free legal services to everyone over the age of 60 in Monterey County. In that group, I have my secretary, Mary Nolte, who is here today. I was very surprised to see Mary. She's a great secretary. And Frank Hespy, who I hired, and then Frank became my successor and then went on to be the dean of the law school. Fellow board members from College of Law, from Legal Services for Seniors, and the MPC Foundation. A lot of those fellow board members are here. We all seem to kind of follow each other from one organization to the other. I wanted to quickly mention Jim Tunney and the fact that Jim is the age of my late brother Cease, and he has kind of taken that position in my life. Jim and I talk probably 3-4 times a week about everything. We talk about life, we talk about growing old and staying active. Jim and I are not the same religion, we're not the same political party, but we still get along. He wrote a number of books while we were on the board. One of the books was It's the Will, Not the Skill, and this was about Herman Edwards and his coaching. But it was the title that got me. It's the will, not the skill. Because that was me. I don't think I had the skill, and especially when it came to law and law school, but I had the will to get through. I'll tell you one quick story for the attorneys in the crowd today. The first day as an attorney, I was sworn in on a Friday afternoon. I walked into my office on Monday morning. I was the executive director. And I had been away studying for the bar, so all of a sudden I walked in. Mary Nolte, my secretary, hands me a file and said, "Be in court at 9 o'clock. And I go, "Wait, what's happening here?" And when Mary said be in court, she meant be in court and be ready. So it was a settlement conference with Judge Richard Silver. I went into his chambers, opened the door, and it was full of people, attorneys, parties. And I thought, this is bigger than I thought it was. Richard did his magic in settlement. All the attorneys will remember Richard Silver. And after 30 minutes, he said, "Lynn, would you step out in the outer office? And would the defense attorney please step out into the outer office?" And we did, and we introduced ourselves. And this man was quite a few years my senior, well-dressed. He said, "I've been practicing law for 40 years in Carmel, and I'm sorry, but I don't recognize you." And I was afraid what the next question was going to be. "How long have you been practicing?" I said, "A little over 30 minutes. That was the end of the conversation. I came home that night and I told Lydia I won my first case, which was a total exaggeration. The office had prepared it all. I just showed up. But like any good politician, I took a victory lap that night, you know. The other phrase that Jim had in one of his columns, and I'll paraphrase that, it said, "Forget what you have given or you give, and remember what you receive." And that really hit me. And it hit me for this speech today because I've received so much from MPC. I don't remember what I've given, but 60 years ago I walked into MPC as an 18-year-old, unprepared. I hadn't taken any college prep courses. And MPC gave me the opportunity for an education. And it gave me an opportunity for a better life for myself and for my family. During the, 18 years that I've been here on the board or on the trustee board, I have had the chance to shake hands with thousands of graduates. And I've looked in their faces and I can see the pride of accomplishment and the hope that they have for a better life. I attended so many graduations and they were all great. The Black Student Union, the Hispanic graduation, the MPC Fire Academy, the nurse pinning ceremonies, the Asian cultural shows, the English Department Book Awards, and the MPC Supportive Services for Handicapped Students. I saw our future leaders on the path to success. What a gift. We went through about the foundation already, so I'm not going to say as much as I was going to. The foundation has taken and is a totally different foundation than it was in 1998 when I joined. We had very little money. And as Marilyn said on the video, the first thing we did, we had something called the Renaissance of MPC, and we raised $1.6 million for the library. And the library had been built first by the efforts of Marianne Teat. I know Marianne's here. And she was the librarian at that time, and she did the state, all the work with the state to get that funding. As we said, I heard that the foundation had a net worth now. We had a net worth of probably $100,000, 98. And now we have a foundation that's 7.3, and as you saw, 7.4. I'm going to tell you one last story, and this happened last year at this time. Jim Tunney called and said, let's go to the Student Scholarship Awards. And so we went. Jim had a named scholarship, and he wanted to meet the awardee. And we sat in the absolute back row of the theater. And the theater was packed with expectant students. It was packed with proud parents. There were two speakers, one a young lady and one a young Hispanic man. And the young man got up, and it was obvious that he obviously hadn't spoken to a big group. There was hundreds there. And he stumbled and stumbled, but it was not the presentation, it was the quality of what he had to say. He grew up in farm worker housing in South County. And he talked about how proud he was of his parents and the sacrifices that they made for him. He talked about, this always gets me, the table in their little room was a board on a Home Depot bucket. Just visualize that. Home Depot bucket, that's their table. And he talked about going to town on Sunday morning, and that the kids all looked forward because they could get a treat. And this young man said, I didn't realize for years my parents never got a treat because they couldn't afford it. And later on in life, he said, I used to go with my father on a pickup down to Cannery Row before daybreak on Sunday morning to clean the streets. And he went on and on and on about giving his parents all of this. Very praised. It was praise, praise, praise. And then he said, I am taking more than a full load. I think he was taking 15 or 18 units. I have more than a B average. I'm working 2 jobs, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I looked down, and the people there was a couple sitting in the row below Jim and I. And both of them had their handkerchiefs out. It was a Hispanic couple. They were dressed in their Sunday best. And I could see this was their son who was talking. So I reached down and I tapped the mother on the back, and they both turned around real quick with a big smile. And I said, you did a good job. And they were crying, and I was crying. MPC has given me more than I can ever return. Thank you very much.